What happens in a city when a lot of employers just pull their stores out?
New York City, at least in our lifetime, went through a doom loop and came out of it. So they are real. They absolutely can occur. They are nasty. But also, if you happen to buy at the bottom, you can make $1 billion.
The cities are absolutely becoming a bigger and bigger problem with businesses not able to afford the rents.
Folks, get ready. We are going to start to hear about downtown doom loops. I want to go ahead and step back and talk about what a commercial or downtown doom loop is, how it starts, how it keeps going, how it picks up momentum. Then we could step back and say, hey, are any of our downtowns set up for this? So let's welcome the guys to the show. Dion, how you doing? And this was a topic that one of your friends suggested. So shout out to her.
Howdy, I'm doing great. Yeah, my friend Chesla reached out and said, what happens in a city when a lot of employers and stores, like Walmart and Bartles, whatever it is, CVX and all of this, just pull their stores out because of the crime, because of the politics, because of whatever's going on? Well, I wanted to say one of the things I do is I don't invest in cities. If somebody asks me, where's your portfolio? I always say it's between Olympia and Tacoma and Washington State, but not in Olympia or Tacoma in Washington State.
There you go.
Because that tends to be where the issues are coming up. And I think your title says it all, the downtown doom loop, where downtown you have, when you have someone like Millennial Mike, right, a first responder who's not allowed to pursue, you have stores that they raise the felony level. When I was doing loss prevention or working in law enforcement, it was $250. So $251 hit felony level. Now it's closer to $1,000. And even then they probably don't pursue. So a lot of stores are pulling out. Well, what happens to your tenants when they can't shop? If there's literally no Walmart to go to, it's not like it wasn't Macy's, it was JC. No, let's say the one, Nordstrom's pulling out. Like if a store like that, which is an anchor store for malls, pulls out, that impacts the mall, that impacts people. It becomes the doom loop.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Matt, you know this obviously on the East Coast. New York City, at least in our lifetime, went through a doom loop and came out of it. So they are real. They absolutely can occur. They are nasty. But also, if you happen to buy at the bottom, you can make $1 billion.
Correct.
So again, when you think about urban core, downtown areas, and doom loops, what are the first couple things that you think about?
Yeah, I mean, I think so many of the cities are heading that way because, how to get canceled in 3, 2, 1. They're the most woke. Sorry, they're woke, and that's kicking their ass. It just is what it is. Look at all these cities with all these policies. They're getting absolutely slaughtered. You don't see the street after street after street of homeless people. Just look at Facebook. I look at Facebook and friends that are investors in Dion's area, and they're like going up and down the street, and you see, okay, you can have this $1 million house, or you can have this $45 tent, and they're in exactly the same place. Your choice. Yeah. So, whatever anybody wants to believe, the facts are the facts, which is the cities are getting more unsafe. The cities are absolutely becoming a bigger and bigger problem with businesses not able to afford the rents based on the fact that when a business pulls out, it takes all those coffee breaks, lunch breaks, Mike, you and I are near and dear to, QBR food and end of quarter food, right? The last 3 days of a quarter. And they're like, no, we're going to bring in dinner. You're like, you're going to bring in crap dinner, aren't you? But they want to keep you there in the office. And so you get fed until like 11 o'clock at night. Like that's how you keep me in the office. So I think that those things will continue to happen. They'll continue to get worse. And then there will be policy, right? Usually they figure it out. But to your point, that's timing the market, not time in the market. But if you can time that market where you're just like, you know what, I think it's hit its bottom. I think San Francisco, San Diego, pick your spot. I think it's hit the bottom.
So here, this is, again, I look at a doom loop from the economic perspective, right? All this is absolutely right. But when you think about a doom loop, you have to follow the money. So what does follow the money in a downtown corridor mean? It typically means taxes. So let's first start, and we'll start with San Francisco because I think that's the closest city to a doom loop that's clearly started and likely not at the bottom. First, you're going to have a lot of office buildings vacant. which is then going to cause office vacancies to rise. They are going to then have the value crash. Then you're going to have foreclosure sales. There was a building on just off Market. I forget the street name, but anyways, the debt was like 150 million and it ended up trading at 40 million. So a 70% haircut on the debt. But guess what? In California, that resets property taxes, right? That building maybe was 200 million bucks last roll. Now it's 40 million. That's a lot less taxes.
Yep.
So again, you're going to have a tax base that is just dwindling. And if you don't know anything about San Francisco and really any city, they're spending next year's money now, but their coffers are not going to be as full, and they won't be as full for years. So are they going to raise taxes or cut spending? Guess what guess what they're going to do.
Taxes.
it's so again, you have less people in the office is going to hurt property taxes. Then you have less people shopping at coffees and QBRs and all of that. Then you have retailers leaving, which begets more retailers leaving. Then then residential property values take a hit, which we're already seeing in San Francisco. So it is real. The doom loop that's going to come to some cities is real, and it's not fast. It's years. San Francisco's office buildings are being reset now, but they'll be reset over the next 2 or 3 years, and they're only going one direction. That's down, which directly impacts taxes. So it could absolutely happen. It won't happen everywhere. Like Chesla brought up San Diego. Now, I don't know anything about San Diego, and maybe I'm just oriented to San Francisco because it's so close to home. And, oh, by the way, I canceled my lifetime goal of season tickets because it was so freaking unsafe to go there. I'm not hearing the same thing about San Diego, but again, maybe my data points are completely different. But yeah, that's what the doom loop's real. It's absolutely real.
Well,
I agree.
When we hear things like doom loop, we talk about investors, and we know some people are going to get hurt by this. Some investors, that San Francisco building that loses 70%, that's on the debt, right? First, all the investors lost everything.
The equity's
then the
gone.
Takes a cut, right?
Equity
right.
first, debt second. Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think it's important to look at people like us, right? You lived in Sacramento, invested in Fresno. You weren't investing in Sacramento, San Francisco. Matt, you have a town where there's like 30,000 people or 3,000 people, whatever the number is.
Both 3 and 30. Yeah.
So, Chesla lives here in Washington. She could invest in Olympia, in Tacoma, or in Seattle, and she didn't. She chose to find someone like me, model the idea of the right amount of cash flow with the least amount of units. She purchased a duplex, and one of her rentals is right in that same area where the mushroom farm was closing, losing the lawsuit, moving on. It's kind of rural. Property values doubled since she's got it. Her rents have doubled since she got it. And not being in city where you have this doom loop thing happening, and you can actually use
quick question. I just want to highlight this. I remember talking, so it's in your playlist. You were talking about this, and I think you said this statement. If you buy it, you don't like it, I'll buy it for the same price. Something to that effect.
We still have the deal.
Yeah, of course you do.
On it right now.
Of course. But when I bring that up is this purchase wasn't 10 years ago, and it's already doubled.
I'd say double. 2021.
Okay.
It's gone up. The rents have doubled from where they were in 2020 in that one area. So the rents
she cash flowed the day she bought it.
Right. And she's getting those emails where you look at the current, she cash flowed when she bought it, a better return than when I bought mine on the same area 3 years before that.
And then rents doubled. So it's almost all cash flow.
Yeah, it's a killer deal. But it's in a rural area. It's not in an area where companies are moving out of because of crime.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Matt, any thought about the doom loop?
Yay. I mean, people move to the burbs and they move, that's what I built my entire premise off of. I want to be, perfectly located where it's an easy enough commute to the city, but they don't have to live in the swill that is the city. I don't.
Here's a question. Here's a question for you. What's the biggest city near you? Is it Boston or
Boston.
what's the
Boston's pretty big. There are a few million people, and then Portland, Maine.
So let's just say Boston.
Yep.
Is there any price point where you would consider buying in Boston?
No,
there's no. Same for me in San Francisco. I wouldn't touch it. How about you, Dan? Was there a price point that you would?
No, Seattle is such a toxic place that the King County, the county that Seattle's in, if they gave me a property there, and paid me to take it, I'd get rid of it. It's immediately.
Where I think the opportunity is created, Zub, is I think it's created with people finally getting the opportunity. Oh, I've always wanted to live in the city. Just go sit in your bathroom and pee on the floor. It's just like that.
Yeah. At the end of the day, again, I'm not a fan of San Francisco. San Francisco will not return until they replace all of the politicians because they've created it, so they need to go.
Idiots.
But I am. San Francisco will be back. San Francisco is a special place. I've seen it go through its cycles. It will be the shining beacon on the star eventually. It's just not tomorrow, and it's certainly not today. Dion, where can people find you?
Right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom. There was a Star Trek Federation joke there somewhere because that's San Francisco, but I'll pass.
There you go. All right. I have no idea what he's talking about, but that works for me. Matt, how about you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and Instagram, live stream Sunday mornings, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Thank you, buddy.